Celebrate freedom this year in beautiful Bear Lake with country music star David Nail. David Nail performing live Monday, July 3rd at Heritage Park in Garden City. Bring your blankets and lawn chairs. Activities start at 4. Free concert at 7:30. Yes, it's free. Food, fun, and fireworks and live music by country star David Nail. Monday, July 3rd. Go to bearlake.org for more information.
Hi, this is Terrence Howard. Colorectal cancer is the second leading cancer killer, but you can prevent this disease. If you're 50 or older, get screened. Please, do everything that you can to stay around for yourself and for your family. Screening saves lives.
A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
News Talk 610 AM, 102.1 FM, KVNU.
It's time for the Garden Guide with your host, Mark Anderson from Anderson Seed and Garden.
New research suggests that people are more likely to eat vegetables if they have a tempting name.
What would life be without homegrown tomatoes? Only two things that money can't buy, and that's true love and homegrown tomatoes.
From gardening to landscaping.
Today we are going to try and create garden eyebrows. Kind of like the flowers are sprouting directly from your hair. That makes sense.
Go! Phone lines are open at 753-KVNU or 800-369-KVNU.
Kind of like eating vegetables.
It's the Garden Guide, now on KVNU 610 AM and 102 FM.
Good morning and welcome to the Garden Guide. This is Mark Anderson with Anderson Seed and Garden. We've got another beautiful day out there, the first day of July, and it's not going to be 100 degrees this year. So we should all be celebrating, shooting off fireworks, things like that to celebrate the very comfortable temperatures of June is what I would say. So comfortable temperatures in June. It's been not as hot as usual, so plants haven't been growing quite as quickly as maybe we would like. I've got a lot of growers coming in saying that their tomatoes are not moving as fast as they'd like. Their flowers are not blooming as much as they'd like, and it has a lot to do with all that moisture we received in June, which is very well appreciated, but it did cool things down, and it did slow plants down a little bit too. But I did put tomato cages on my tomatoes this week, so they have grown tall enough that I had to put cages on them. They were growing out the tops of my aquadomes, which is a great sign by the end of June. And fruit set. I had a lot of fruit on most of my cherry tomatoes, and some of my regular tomatoes had set fruit as well, too, and lots of flowers coming. So that was very encouraging. And I was out planting my corn this week, too. So it's not too late to plant a lot of different things. So even if you've been distracted, you've been busy, like me, every time you go to do stuff out in your garden, it rained there for a couple weeks, just didn't get to do some things that needed to be done in the garden. It's not too late. So definitely 1st of July, great time to plant corn, great time to plant beans. You can do another crop of carrots, another crop of beets. There's just a lot of different vegetables we can still get planted out in the garden. Zucchinis, believe it or not, only take 50 days to produce. So you plant zucchini or crookneck today, even from seed, they'll be producing by about 10th of August, maybe a little bit, 15th of August, somewhere around there. They'll come along a little bit quicker when it's hotter temperatures, so they'll produce very quickly. And it's kind of nice to have some of those plants rejuvenated and producing again like crazy, because sometimes the early ones that you plant, they're kind of overgrown and having problems, struggling a little bit. So it's nice to have a second crop coming on as well, too. So it just depends on how much space you've got left in your garden. So we've got phone lines open. We've got time to visit today, and a lot of different things to talk about. Mosquitoes are out of control. I saw squash bugs on my squash this week. Weeds are still a problem, even at my house, but we're getting those under control, so we can talk weeds. But diseases are showing up as well too. Mildews, shot hole fungus, a lot of different things happening. And of course, downtown in Logan, there's a lot of great things going on. Next week is the sidewalk sale. So we've got the downtown sidewalk sale is, let's see, on the calendar, that is the 6th through the 8th of July. Today is the cruise in, so there should be little activities going on all day, and then the parade tonight. What time's the parade, Jason? Do you know what time it is?
It's last I had read. They were going to start funneling out of the area down there around 7.
Around 7. Okay,
but I don't know if the parade had an official start time.
So a little bit later,
just because it takes them so long.
It's kind of driver's standard time.
Yeah. However soon they can get everyone off the grass onto the street.
Onto the street. Okay. I was not sure if there was a specific time for that or not. So cruise in tonight. Downtown sidewalk sale next week. And then at Anderson's, we have our Mad Money sale starting on the 10th of July. And the Mad Money sale, for those of you that don't know what that is, for every $10 that you've spent in Anderson's since the 1st of March, we've been accumulating Mad Money for you. If you have an account or a customer number at Anderson's, we usually ask you for your customer number, which is basically your phone number. But on your customer account, it's been accumulating Mad Money. So for every $10 you've spent, you get $1 back in Mad Money. And then during the Mad Money sale, which is the 10th through the 15th of July, so that's coming up in just about a week and a half, you can come in and use your Mad Money just like cash for up to half of your purchase. So let's say you've come in and spent $300 at Anderson's buying trees and flowers and vegetables and fertilizer and whatnot, and you've accumulated $30 of Mad Money. You can come in, and a lot of things will be on sale already. You'll get not only the sale price, but then you'll get to use your $30 towards your purchase. So if you bought, say, another really nice shade tree that was $99, you could use your $30 towards that purchase and take a $30 discount on top of the tree being on sale already, but you can only use your Mad Money up to half of your purchase. So if you've got $30 in Mad Money, you can buy something for $60 and use all of your Mad Money towards that $60 purchase, get it for half price. So
very nice.
Yeah, it's a great deal. It's one of the ways that we reward our customers that are coming consistently to see us throughout the growing season. And you'll accumulate Mad Money all year long. So from the 1st of March until really when we do our sale in December, and that's probably the 11th through the 15th of December, we'll be doing Mad Money again. And then we'll do a bulb exchange in September when all the bulbs start coming in. So there's not just one opportunity to use your Mad Money, but there's 3 opportunities to use your Mad Money. So whether you use it for tulip bulbs or whether you wait until Christmas and use it for holiday decor, which, believe it or not, we are getting in Christmas stuff already.
Oh, really?
So last week I unloaded our 40-foot container of Christmas trees and wreaths and garlands. So we've got all those in, which is really nice. I prefer to get them the end of June than the 1st of December. It just seems to work a lot better that way. But this week we got like 3 or 4 more pallets of stuff, and usually it's around the first part of July, first part of August that all the product starts rolling in. Then we start to use the greenhouses to organize that and prep that for the next busy season at Anderson Seed. So that's kind of how that works. So Mad Money sale is coming up the 10th through the 15th, and this weekend we got a lot of great deals on a lot of different plants. So our remaining flowers and vegetables are on sale. We've got roses on sale. We've got a lot of great looking plants, shrubs, trees, and a lot of different special pricing on a lot of those plants. And the temperatures are not too hot, so you can get out there and do some planting still. Yeah, it's a really good time to do some planting. And I had a lot of people coming in this week wishing that they could plant their grass seed, but they were thinking it was too hot. And I was like, no. 1st of July till the middle of September, that's the best time to plant grass. It just doesn't get any better. So it comes up so quick. In fact, yesterday I was talking to someone, and they have kind of between the drought conditions last year and not being able to water and a few other conditions and things that have happened in their lives at this time, they've kind of let their lawn go, and it's just mostly weeds and not much grass. And I told them, it's like, now's the time to spray. We're going to spray. We're going to kill that. And then we're going to overseed right over the top of it, maybe bring a little bit of topsoil in. And in a week from the time that you plant, you'll have new grass up. And after 4 weeks, you will have mowed it. And after 8 weeks, you will be able to tell that you won't be able to tell that the grass hasn't been there forever. So that's how quick of a turnaround you can have. So now is the best time to plant that grass seed. So if you'd like to join our conversation, it's just Jason and I right now on the radio show. I did have a guest lined up, but they have not arrived yet. So that's all right. We will have to talk about them behind their back.
But you will say mean things. People who aren't prompt, aren't they the worst?
Well, you never know.
I can't say that.
I've been late to things before. Yeah, I've been
constantly
late to stuff. Yeah, but the phone lines are open. You're welcome to call in with questions or comments. 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868, and we would love to have you join our conversation here on the Garden Guide. How's your garden growing, Jason?
It's been. I was still blowing snow in April.
I know.
And so
I know. Don't mention that word.
I know.
We don't talk about that word on the show.
Well, so my internal clock is all thrown off. So I've done this long enough that I have this, that you get the sense like, oh, now's the time to do this now.
Yes.
And then we had this very cool, fairly wet June. And so it's kind of thrown everything off. And I was looking the other day, and I'm way behind. There's some things that are usually done by now that I haven't.
Yeah. All spring, unfortunately, I have been forced to tell people, I'm sorry, my calendar is off this year.
It's really strange.
I mean,
right?
the calendar for the store is usually very, very accurate. I'll start working on the calendar like this month for next year, and we kind of have to anticipate, when things are going to happen and timing, and when the snow's going to melt, and most of the time we are right. This year, totally wrong.
Yeah, it was
completely wrong.
Really, really weird spring. Winter lasted too long, but I did have a question for you while we're waiting for a potential
for
call
phone
here.
calls. Yeah, for phone calls.
You have so on the website at AndersonSeedandGarden.com, you have these seed packets, and you have your own personal all-time favorite collection.
My favorite collection, yes.
And I've been dying to know, included in the collection is a yellow doll watermelon.
Yes.
And I wanted to know if you could tell us a little bit about that. Why did that make it into your favorites list?
So a couple of years ago, we noticed that online, it was like, especially on Amazon and some of the retail outlets that are available online, it's hard to sell individual packets of seed because it doesn't make sense, because shipping and cost, and to sell a packet of seeds for $1.50 on there, you end up just giving it all to Amazon. Yeah, they're going to take it all. In fact, they're going to charge you more than that to sell the one packet. So we started putting these collections together, and
I love them.
And one of the collections that we did was like, I picked my favorite varieties, and Yellow Doll watermelon's one of my favorite watermelons. And so the Yellow Doll is a smaller icebox watermelon. I would say it ends up being around 4 pounds or so. So it's maybe 5 pounds. It's not a gigantic watermelon, but when you cut the watermelon open, the flesh inside is not red; it's yellow. It's bright yellow, and so it's striped on the outside. It looks like a regular watermelon. So you look at it, and you go, "Dang, that's a really nice looking watermelon." You cut it open, and it's yellow on the inside, and you just go, there is no way that's going to taste like a watermelon. It's just, the color is absolutely wrong. And then you take a bite of it, and you go, that's the best watermelon I've ever tasted. And it's like, it's so good. And the first time we tried it was at a gardener's market, a farmer's market. And they had samples, and they were cutting it open and sharing it. It's like, dang, I've never grown one of those. We'll have to try it. And it's like, you eat it, and your brain is telling you there is no way this is going to taste like a watermelon. And then you taste it, and you go, dang, that's an awesome watermelon.
That's very cool.
So the Yellow Doll, it's not too big. It's like perfect to cut in half and share with someone. Okay. It's not a really big watermelon. If you like a lot of watermelon, it's going to satisfy your craving if you split it in half. I guess if you're ravenous, you could eat the whole thing yourself. But I think that's kind of a lot. I would say it's a little bit bigger than a cantaloupe, like a good sized cantaloupe. So it's not a giant. It's not a really gigantic watermelon.
I'm going to have to try those.
There are some really good varieties in that mix. I'm positive. Yeah. It's got like our Gold Rush zucchinis in there. So it's a golden zucchini. I really like the golden zucchini, and tasty green cucumbers. I could live off of tasty green cucumbers. Those are like
I have tried
favorite.
those are perfect.
But this week I planted our Optimum corn replacement, which is called Nirvana, and the Nirvana emerges a little bit better than the Optimum from the soil when it's cold and wet, and so it germinates a little bit better. and it has a little bit more vigor early on in the season, but it still has that same amazing quality and bicolor, so sweet you can eat it raw. But last year I tried a new variety that was called Eden, and it's a white corn, and it's a super sweet. Yeah, it's a super sweet like the Optimum or the Nirvana, but it's all white kernels, and we grew that last year and ate it, and I was like, I have a new favorite. This is now my new favorite. It's kind of hard to tell when it's ready because it's all white, so usually with the yellow corn you kind of pull the husk back a little bit. You can look at it and go, oh yeah, it's ready to go, and you like drop it in the pot and away you go. So it's a little difficult to tell when it's ripe, but the ears do kind of pull away from the stalk when it's ready to go. So you can tell that way. But I'll tell you what, that was the best corn I've ever eaten. It's called Eden, and it's not too late to plant because guess what? I planted mine this week. So Thursday,
it'll be up in time.
Thursday, I planted mine, watered it really well. It'll be up by like the 4th of July. I planted it on Thursday morning and got it watered in, and by the 4th of July, I'll bet we'll have little babies popping up already. That's how quick it comes up when the soil's warm. So
that's it. Corn and lettuce. Those are the two food. I've never killed corn and lettuce.
Yeah, good for you. Good for you. I've killed
everything else.
I've killed lettuce for sure. So I'm not afraid to admit that.
Lettuce is pretty easy to kill as it gets warmer.
So we do have phone lines open 753-5868, 753-KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868, and join our conversation. Jason and I are having a great time today already, and the show has just barely started.
And we do have Kim on the line with a question for you.
Good morning, Kim. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Hey, Mark. How you doing?
Doing well. What's up?
Good. So, my garden pulling some weeds yesterday, and I noticed a small little grasshopper.
Oh, you and everyone else.
Yeah. I have a question though. Can I use diatomaceous earth?
The diatomaceous earth does not work very well on grasshoppers unless they get right into it and crawl through it. And most of the grasshoppers are hopping over it, and so it's less than likely to be effective. So my garden is right next to our neighbor's field, and so we get quite a few grasshoppers that come in. And last year they were not too problematic, but there was enough population they did some damage, but I was kind of okay with it. This year they have just really started eating my potato plants. They've just devoured my potato plants. And so last night I got a little bit serious with them, put the repellent out, which I hadn't been able to do yet this year. So I put my repellent out. So I got the cedar granules out, and I also got a little bit more aggressive, and I sprayed Bug Blaster from High Yield, so the Bug Blaster from High Yield along our property line where the grasshoppers are coming from. So I kind of did around the garden, and then I did I did a heavier dose right there along where the field and the garden kind of come together, and where there's some weeds that they like to nibble on as well too, and just trying to knock them down before they get to my garden. And then the repellent, I've used it in the past. It's been super, super effective. I mean, it won't deter every single grasshopper, every single insect from coming into the garden, but it really cuts their numbers down considerably, like a very noticeable difference. So it's like 70%, 80% decrease on the insects. And so between the 7 and the cedar granules, I should have really good control. So by the end of this weekend, I should be able to go out there and not be inundated with grasshoppers.
Yeah. So, and I haven't used, what is it, Nolo? Is that what
the Nolo bait? Yes, and Nolo was unavailable last year, and it was very hard to get the year before because of the damage that they had to the production facility.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And this year we were hoping to get it, but they have been just working furiously to get their organic certification with the EPA with their new facility, and it's just taken a lot longer than what they anticipated. So I'm not holding my breath. We'll put it that way. Thursday, I messaged the company. They've been really good to respond back to me, let me know what how their process is coming, and they thought they might have it by the first part of July, but I haven't heard anything back yet. So I got my fingers crossed. So we could still get
no
no bait.
With the government,
it's going to take a while. Yeah, it's going to take a while. The good thing about this year is since it has been cold and wet, or cooler and wet, our foothills are still pretty green. Our fields are still pretty green. There's a lot of food source out there, so they haven't really started migrating. And then the grasshoppers are about 2 or 3 weeks behind schedule. And so even if we do get no bait by the middle of July or even the end of July, it will still be very effective to apply if we can get it, because the season's so much later. And every time it rains, it messes up your bait, so you got to like reapply it. And it's finally stopped raining. So finally we've kind of hit that point in the summer where it's like, okay, faucet's off, and it stops raining for a while. But I think we're going to get that monsoonal moisture again in August, like we did last year, and so we'll see what happens. Our window for using the no bait might be kind of small this year. So
yeah, okay,
all right.
Well, I'm glad I asked that question because I was about ready to start sprinkling. That diatomaceous, so I figured, I'll use this other.
So your best options for insecticides would be 7, the Bug Blaster from High Yield. I love the Bug Blaster. It's got a little bit longer residual, a little bit more knockdown. The permethrin, like indoor outdoor, also from High Yield, would be really great. Some of the organic ones, if you want to stick with the organic option, while they're small, you could use like Triple Action from Fertilome. That's an all organic product, and it got neem oil and pyrethrum in it. Has a pretty good knockdown, but not a very long residual. But once the grasshoppers get bigger, it doesn't work nearly as well on them. But the Bug Blaster,
well, they're small right now.
Yeah, and there's just there's millions of them. I really didn't think we'd have this many grasshoppers, but I also didn't think we'd have this many weeds either. So I've been wrong a lot of times this year. Yeah, exactly. There's always a variance. So Kim, thanks for calling this morning.
Appreciate it.
Yep,
thank you.
Anytime. Have a good weekend. All right, we've got phone lines open, 753-5868, 753-KVNU. You are welcome to join us here on the Garden Guide. We're talking bugs, we're talking weeds, we're talking diseases. Jason's garden's even growing well this year.
Finally.
It's a miracle. Yeah. I wasn't sure how – we left for a week or two, and I wasn't sure how the garden would be growing when I got back. And I'll tell you what, it was grown like crazy, but those weeds, they've grown like crazy too. Yeah.
My peppers have paused. Is that expected with the cooler temperatures?
The peppers like 90-degree daytime temperatures and 85-degree nighttime temperatures.
So they're just coming into
our nighttime temperatures have been way too cold, and so they have just been sitting there, not really doing. At least in my garden, they've been sitting there. The ones that I've got, like the aquadomes or the walls of water on, they have been moving a lot better because it's holding the heat at night, and so they're coming along better. So now I've got them all covered. This week I took the aquadomes off my tomatoes because some of them had grown 12 to 16 inches out the tops of the aquadomes. Yeah, they were growing like crazy. So I took those off and I put my handy cages on because I love my handy cages and my big handy cages, and started replacing the aquadomes with the handy cages, and moved those to the peppers to try to encourage a little bit more growth on the peppers. And then I moved some to some of the new squashes that I planted as well, too, that were a little small. But most of my squashes are going crazy. They're just really taking off. And we've planted a couple giant pumpkins. So my good friend Jim Siemens gave us some giant pumpkins. I gave away a few on the radio show earlier this spring. And they are running. They're like not quite 10 feet long, but they're running, and they're starting to set fruit already. And I got mine planted late, so really slow. So I think most of the giant pumpkin growers have fruit set already on their pumpkins, and they're going like crazy. But we're going to do a giant pumpkin way off downtown in September.
That's right.
Yeah, so we're going to have the Giant Pumpkin Festival the 23rd of September. Make sure and get it on your calendars. But all the northern Utah giant pumpkin growers are going to have their way off right there on the 23rd of September on Center Street. And we're putting plans together and making things happen. If you'd like to participate, please let me know. We can always use volunteers and sponsors, and people are willing to help out with that. But we'll have some giant pumpkins there. And last year, I think the largest pumpkin was in the 15 to 1,800 range, but the year before it was over 2,000 pounds. Yeah, and so yeah, I know. So usually they have somewhere between 20 and 30 pumpkins to weigh, and they're all massive. They're all huge, and it's a really cool event. And we'll have some other stuff going on as well too. So it's going to be family friendly fun. With we'll have artists there. We will have all kinds of food options. There's a lot of different food places there on Center Street, but we're gonna bring a couple other people in as well too, and we should have some booths with some vendors and a lot of activities for the kids. So we'll have some pumpkin painting. We will be doing family photos. There's going to be a movie playing at the Utah Theater. There'll be just a ton of fun stuff going on, and of course that weekend the Gardeners Market's still going, and I think the city's going to be doing some stuff on the new plaza there on Center Block as well too. It will be a miracle if we get the plaza done in time.
Interesting.
Even though it was supposed to be done in May, then it was supposed to be done in June, and then it's now supposed to be done in July. But I'm crossing my fingers for September, so that'll be nice.
That is,
yeah.
I'm excited about that.
Should be some fun the end of September. So Giant Pumpkin Festival, we're shooting for the 23rd of September.
Should be just cool to see.
Should be great. Yeah, should be a lot of fun. So okay, we got some phone calls coming in.
Yeah, we do have Ron on the line here, and time for that just before the break.
All right, Ron, welcome to the Garden Guide.
Hi, Mark. My peaches and nectarines really didn't fruit out like I hoped, but what I'm really calling about, maybe you've already covered it today. Tell me again about fire blight on apples, and tell me how it relates to garden foss.
That is a great question, and the fire blight has hit all of a sudden. We're starting to see samples, so I probably saw 5 to 10 samples of fire blight this week, and so it's really starting to show up. Fire blight is a bacterial infection that enters into the trees mostly through the blossoms, but it can go in through open cuts and other opportunities for it. But it usually enters in through the blossoms, so we usually will do a preventative fungicide during bloom season, especially when it's rainy like it was this year. It really spreads a lot. And so rain and wind kind of spread the bacteria around, gets into the tree. Once it's inside the tree, it's like a bacterial infection inside your body. It doesn't just magically go away. It just kind of stays there. And it will continue to spread from the tips of the branches, where it's entered into the blossoms. It will start to work its way back through the tissue of the tree and start to kill the tissue off. It will turn black. It will kind of crook over like a shepherd's hook, and you'll just see general dieback on apples and pears. It affects hawthorns. It affects pyracantha. It affects crab apples and flowering pear. It gets into basically the whole rose family, so it can get into roses as well too. And so it's very damaging. It will devastate a tree in just one season if you don't get it under control. And fortunately, there is a product out there that's called Garden Foss that is phosphorus based, and it basically, once you apply it to the tree, it gets into the circulatory system of the tree, and it will kill the bacteria on the inside. So it basically burns the bacteria out of the plant and will stop it from spreading. And so the Garden Foss can be applied as a spray, so you can spray it on the leaves, which is going to be quicker, or you can apply it directly to the trunk. It'll absorb it in through the trunk and then spread it through the circulatory system and stop that disease from spreading. Of course, it's going to do the damage that it's done. The parts that have already been damaged will have to be pruned out, but it will stop it from spreading through the rest of the tree and killing your tree, because I've seen fire blight kill a whole tree in just one season. Sometimes it takes two, but this will stop it from spreading, but you still have to amputate parts out of it. So if you need a quick fix and you need it to work faster because your tree's been infected, then you want to spray it on. But preventatively, we will have a lot of our homeowners apply this in March or even early April so that it's working in the tree before fire blight season starts. So did I hit all the key elements there, Ron?
That's excellent. Is there anything to be used with garden floss or instead of, or is that the very best?
That's the only thing that I am aware of that will work on fire blight after the tree has been infected. So this is curative. Almost all the other sprays are all preventative. So you have to use them preventatively before it happens. And the garden floss is the only thing that will work after infection, other than just pruning out all the parts that have been infected. So traditionally we will recommend, 6 to 8 inches past the last visible damage on the fire blight once it gets into your tree to prevent it from spreading. And you want to sterilize your pruners after each cut. But with the garden floss, if you get that in the tree, it will stop it from spreading. But you still have to prune out the parts that have been infected, because then that bacteria will stay inside the tree and it will ooze out next spring and start to infect again. And so you really want to get the parts that have been damaged from your tree. You want to get those removed and get rid of the debris, because it can cause infections again for next year.
And for prevention, how does garden floss stack up against the other prevention measures?
So since it is a contact fungicide as well, it does a great job preventatively, but you also have, like, say, copper soap, you've got streptomycin sulfate. There's a lot of other disease controls that will work well on that bacteria before it gets into the tree. So it's got to be, not all disease controls are antibacterial. There's a lot of antifungal, but not all are antibacterial. So you got to make sure and use the right ones that work on that bacteria. So, and
people preventatively apply it as early as March.
For the garden floss, if you're doing the trunk treatment, it moves at about a foot a day. So if your tree is, say, 15 feet tall, you need to get it on at least 2 weeks before infection can happen, so it can get all the way through the tree. And so we usually will recommend you apply before the tree is in bloom, so you can get that spread all the way through the tree. But if you're doing a spray, you spray it while the tree's in bloom, especially for the streptomycin sulfate and the copper soap. You gotta spray it while it's bloom season. So, all right, does that work, Ron?
Okay. Super. That covered me. Thanks.
You are so welcome. Thanks for the phone call and the great question. So you have a good weekend. Yep. Happy 4th.
Bye.
All right. We are at the bottom of the hour. We're going to have to take a break. Phone lines are open. We've got a caller holding. Please wait. We'll get to your question here shortly. But if you'd like to call in with questions or comments, 753-5868, 753 KVNU, or 1-800-369-5868. And we'll be back just right after this short break.
I'm Will Feel-Right with your KVNU News Update, brought to you by Napa Auto Parts and its Cruise-In weekend in northern Utah as the Cache Valley Cruise-In continuing. And a reminder that the Cruise-In Parade will be taking place Saturday night, and that means that Main Street will be closed from 5:30 until 8. Logan City Police are reminding motorists to use alternate routes as the street will be closed from 300 south to 1400 north to make way for the cars that will be making their way up and down Main Street. That closure in effect from 5:30 until 8. Well, America's national parks are bracing for another record year of attendance, but overcrowding in the parks could take away some of their magic. National parks saw more than 300 million visitors in 2022. However, Professor Emily Wakefield at Boise State University says that parks are seeing funding decreasing year after year.
How to use the funds that do exist to address the backlog of maintenance that hasn't been kept up, but also to plan for new technologies. So things like electric bikes or recreational motorhomes that are now twice the size of regular homes.
Wakefield says this also challenges gateway communities that surround those parks, some of which became popular, so-called Zoom towns during the pandemic as people moved to those places where they could be near outdoor recreation while working remotely. And with the approaching 4th of July, a time traditionally associated with patriotism and celebration, the personal finance website Wallet Hub has released its report on the most patriotic states in America. It found that Utah ranked 17th overall, with Idaho coming in 18th. Colorado and Wyoming were also showcased, ranking 8th and 9th respectively, while the number one state in the country was Virginia. Sunny and warm temperatures continuing through the rest of the weekend, as we're going to see temperatures stay in the high 80s to low 90s. Will Feel Right, KVNU News.
From ABC Sports, I'm Mark Remillard. The next step of the NBA offseason free agency opened up last night with plenty of big deals going down, including Kyrie Irving returning to the Mavs. ESPN's Tim McMahon reporting.
This has always been the top priority for the Mavericks this summer. They were able to accomplish it early. They're also able to accomplish it at a number that reflects his superstar status, but is south of the max. That's especially important because it preserves the full $12.4 million mid-level for the Mavericks.
The deal is a reported 3-year, $126 million. Draymond Green also returning to the Warriors on a 4-year, $100 million deal.
This is great news for the Warriors, and we expected Draymond to be back. Didn't know it was going to get done this quickly. And look, he's earned every single dime of that $100 million and what he has meant to that organization in the time he's been there. I think the championship window is still open for the Warriors.
ESPN's Mark Spears. This is ABC Sports.
Hi, this is Gordon Deal. Monday on This Morning, America's First News. Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are aiming to toughen oversight of military counselors who provide advice to Gold Star families about their life insurance benefits when they lose a family member. Also, some cancer patients are receiving less treatment thanks to a drug shortage, and why ESG investing is running out of momentum. Monday on This Morning, America's First News.
Monday morning from 4 to 6 on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102 FM.
How was your drive to school?
Let me tell you, I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then, someone started calling me and...
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
The Garden Guide on News Talk KVNU, 610 AM and 102.1 FM.
All right, we are back here at the Garden Guide, and we're taking your calls and trying to answer your questions and enjoying the beautiful weather outside. It is 4th of July weekend. Can you believe it is the 1st of July? It's just like
June went fast.
June went really, really fast,
yeah.
and it didn't feel like summer until just recently.
Yeah, like yesterday.
And I know the 20th or 21st of June is the actual first day of summer, and you know most of the time it feels like summer a lot quicker than that. And this year,
not so much.
Maybe a little bit after that. It's been different. So, but we do have a caller waiting online. But yes. Call in with those questions or comments. 753-5868, 753-KVNU. And don't forget, it is the Cruise In tonight downtown. Some fun stuff going on. Downtown sidewalk sale next week, the 6th through the 8th. So that's always a fun time. And Mad Money sales coming up at Anderson Seed and Garden the 10th through the 15th of July. So some fun stuff happening downtown related to your garden. So, yeah.
And we have Christine on line. She called just before the break, and she's still with us.
Good morning, Christine. Welcome to the Garden Guide.
Maybe not. Christine, are you there? It sounds like we may have lost Christine. Christine, if you can hear us, give us a call back at 753-5868. We did, Mark, also have Vicky,
yes.
and we lost her. And Vicky had a question. She said she had banana squash with black spots.
Yeah. Were the spots on the squash or on the leaves?
She said on the leaves.
On the leaves. Yeah. Okay, so we have seen some different diseases showing up. Traditionally, we see a lot of powdery mildew on squashes, melons, cucumbers, but black spot could be from the cool, wet weather that we did have through June, and could be a little bit of a leaf spot. And most of your like fungal bacterial disease controls will take care of that. So fungicide 5 from Fertilome is one of my favorites. It's an all-natural disease control, safe to use right up to the minute you harvest your plants. And very, very effective. It's a natural bacteria that really does a great job at controlling other diseases naturally. And it's very, very effective and very, very inexpensive. It goes a long way for your money. So one of my very favorite products, I use it on my tomato plants. I use it on my squashes, melons, cucumbers, anything that is prone to picking up diseases. The complete, fungicide 5 or the complete disease control from Monterey. Really amazing product at getting that under control, and totally safe to use on the squashes.
Now, what about yellow spots? Same thing, or
could be something similar. Usually, it's a fungal disease if it's shown up on the leaves. So there's powdery mildew, there's black spot, there's some other fungal diseases that could be yellow or black or different. But some of the plants kind of have mottled colored leaves as well too. Occasionally I have people bring in leaves off of their zucchinis or off their crooknecks, and they're like, it looks really funny, and it's just the variety has like some modeling in it. So we've seen that as well too.
I learned I was burning mine with the sprinkler.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't realize I had a sprinkler running on some grass nearby, and I didn't realize
it was puddling. It was kind of puddling, leaving drops, and then the sun would hit it and kind of fry it.
Not figure out where these little brown dots were coming from.
We have seen a lot of sunburn this year too, because we have had some cloudy days, and then all of a sudden the sun comes out, and then you'll get some yellow spots or some crisping along the edges as well too. And then I have seen some plants that really just got burnt. They just downright got burnt with too much fertilizer, either too high of a compost, like a manure type compost, whether steer or poultry, just maybe got a little too much in there. Instead of doing a ½ inch to an inch, maybe they put like 4 inches out there. All of a sudden the plants are getting kind of crispy and dry. So those are all possibilities. So hopefully we got Vicky's question answered. And did Christine call back?
Yes, Christine did call back.
Awesome.
And Christine, thank you for calling back.
You're welcome. Sorry about that. I don't know what happened.
No worries.
It might have been us.
Yeah, it happened.
We never know.
Who knows?
We did not do it on purpose, Christine. Yeah.
Oh, thanks. I feel better now. Thank you. I have 2 questions. I forgot yesterday when I came in that I had taken a picture of one of my normal trees, and it is weeping, I think is what you call it. What can I do for it?
Do you know what kind of a tree it is?
Oh, my gosh. It's one of those that grow a foot a year.
Oh, so it's a fast grower. It's not a poplar or a willow.
I don't think so. No.
Because those
I've had it a long time too.
Yeah, I guess a foot a year is really not fast grower. Poplars and willows are going to grow like 3 feet a year. So yeah, they're much
if I come into town today, I could show you the picture and take a picture of the leaves.
Bring me a sample for sure, because then we can figure out what kind of tree it is, and then we can try and address it a little bit more specifically. But usually if there's sap coming out of the tree, there is a wound somewhere, and the wound could be caused by just weather. I mean, we've had a lot of wind, we had a lot of snow, we had a lot of issues that has damaged the bark on trees. And I've got a couple of trees at home that just have splits on the trunk that I thought the trees were really mature and they had the nice bark and everything was going, but this winter caused a lot of damage. And when you get some splitting either on a branch or on a trunk like that, as the sap starts to flow through the tree, you'll have some weeping, you'll have some sap pouring out of that wound. Sometimes it can be caused by insects. Sometimes it can be caused by disease, like we see shot hole fungus and bacterial bud blight in a lot of the stone fruits that will cause cankers that split open, and then you get these globs of sap that come out. So there are a lot of potential causes. Poplars and willows, they get slime flux, which causes excess pressure inside the tree, splits the bark open, and all of a sudden this foamy stuff's coming out that the bugs absolutely love as well too. So a lot of potential causes. If we know what kind of tree it is, I will be able to help you a lot better with the diagnosis. Yeah.
So just bring in a branch or something?
Yes. You take a picture of the wound where the sap's coming out, and then just cut a little piece off. It can be like 8 to 12 inches where I see some leaves, and we'll be able to identify your tree from the bark and from the leaves, and that will be very helpful.
I think this has been, last time I opened, I think there were earwigs in it.
Yeah, and some of those insects will take advantage of the situation. They're not like causing it. I got somebody in yesterday, and they had an insect that was coming out of a split in their maple, and it's like, all right, that's not a maple borer. It's not. It's just taking advantage of the really nice sheltered location to hang out during the day when it's hot. So, yeah, the earwigs are kind of doing the same thing, not causing the damage, but just taking advantage of the nice conditions, shady and moist and snack there.
Okay, I'll bring in some branches and the leaves. And so finally, a couple nights ago, I finally got to spray my raspberries with 7.
Good.
Well, when they do a little bit now, and then they do a lot more later. So I was listening to the guy, and when you said spray for bugs, I also took advantage of that because it looks like something's eating my potatoes. So I sprayed along, and I sprayed on top of the potatoes. It's not going to hurt either one of them if there's raspberries on my raspberries or they're flowering my potatoes.
If you use the 7 you can use on the potatoes right up until the day you're going to harvest because you're not eating the tops, so that's not a problem. On the raspberries, it has a 1-day weight limit on it. So if you spray today, you could actually harvest them tomorrow or Monday and wash them off, and you're like good to go.
So how often do I do the 7 for the bugs?
The 7 will last
grasshoppers or whatever.
The 7 will last probably anywhere between 10 to 14 days, depending on what the weather does. And so, once every 2 weeks ought to be good, unless your grasshoppers are really out of control. And I think your limitation on how many times you can use it for the season is like 7 times.
Oh, yeah, I live next to a field like you do.
Yeah.
So,
and that's where the grasshoppers are coming from right now.
So I could also switch and use the bug blaster, correct?
The bug blaster is great. You just can't use it on the edibles like you can the 7. And so I have not hesitated to use it on my potatoes or the tops of my carrots because I don't eat those. But I won't use it on my tomatoes or, like, say, on my squashes, if they're setting fruit. So I'll use it on the plants that I'm not going to eat. And I'll use it on that kind of gap between my garden and the field next door. That's where I know that's where they're coming from, and so that's the most effective spot for me to spray, and the bug blaster does such a great job there. So.
And you walk through your grass and it comes alive.
Yeah, it's like parting the Red Sea this year.
Yeah, the parting the grasshopper sea or whatever. Okay, well,
all right.
I will have to write myself a note to spray them in 14 days again.
Sounds great, Christine.
Thank you for doing this.
You are so welcome. Thanks for calling. Have a wonderful 4th.
You too. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Bye.
All right, we've got phone lines open, 753-5868, 753-KVNU. We've got about 7 or 8 minutes left in the show, so we could get a couple more questions in if you wanted to do that. But tomato cages. I put the cages on my tomatoes this week, and they are standing upright, very happy. Got some that are 3 feet tall already.
That's impressive.
So they did much better than I anticipated.
Yeah, I thought they would be a little delayed, like the peppers.
In our absence, had those aquadomes on them, planted them. A lot of them were small. I started them, 6 weeks before I wanted to plant them, so they weren't like really big plants. They transplanted very, very well. I did not lose a single one transplanting.
Now, was that the cooler temperatures, or because I had the same experience?
I planted right after Memorial Day.
Okay,
so I was a little bit late for. Not late for me, late for other people.
Okay. Yeah, I remember. I think it was Senator Lyle Hilliard when he was in office used to start planting in April.
Oh yeah,
no matter what.
Yeah. Dad would get away with planting stuff early, but I planted right after Memorial Day, and planted those tomato plants. And what I do is I dig extra big holes. I amend the soil with some really nice soil conditioner that's got coconut coir in it, and it's like a really nice high quality potting mix. I just work that into the soil, and I plant my tomatoes into that. But I water them with our compost tea. So we use a compost tea combo with the complete disease control. And I water them with that the first 3 or 4 waterings when they first get planted, get them really, really established. It makes the root systems just go like crazy. And we did not lose a single plant. And I did the same thing with my squashes and pumpkins. And I planted a whole bunch of those because we're growing extra pumpkins for the Pumpkin Festival in September. And I didn't lose a single one of those either. So they did exceptionally well with the cooler temperatures. Yeah, I think that really helped. Yeah, so the 70 degrees and the extra rain really just didn't make that much. It really made that much of a better conditions for transplanting. But if you use the compost tea combo with the complete disease control, you're not only taking care of soil-borne diseases, but diseases that can hit the leaves as well too. And then the natural fertilizer in the compost tea and the beneficial microbes and microorganisms and the mycorrhiza just make your root system grow like crazy. And so just in 3 weeks, not quite 4 weeks, those plants went from 8 inches tall, maybe 10 at the tallest, to like 3 feet. So they've grown that much, and they've got fruit set, and they've got lots of blossoms on them, and they're just taking off like crazy. So it really does make a big difference. And when I take those aquadomes off my plants that are growing out the top that are 3 feet tall, I can take my handy cages or my big handy cages, and I can put those around those plants without damaging them. So if you're using a traditional tomato cage that's like shaped like an ice cream cone, you'll break all the branches off as you shove it on the tomato plant. But with the handy cages, since they come in 2 pieces, I can put one in on one side and put the other piece in on the other side, makes this perfect square. And then it supports the plants, and I can adjust the branches so they go out the openings on the cage, and it will support the plants. And my big handies, they are like almost 5 feet tall, so they can handle some really big tomato plants. Yeah,
that is. We actually have 2 for you before the end of the show here, and time enough to do it, I think. Marge had a question. She couldn't stay. She said, hers was simple. She said she grows potatoes, and many years she goes, it's time to harvest the plants where it should be. Everything looks great. It's the right time of year.
Right.
She pulls them up, bunch of tiny little potatoes. How can she make them bigger?
Small potatoes. So when we plant our potatoes, I do sulfur in with the potatoes because it helps with scab and other diseases. And I also put a slow release fertilizer in there with them as well too. And then that really helps because it's going to feed them throughout the entire summer. And then once we get them covered and they start coming up, about 6 weeks after they come up, I will fertilize them again. And when I fertilize, I'll just broadcast it around the plants, but then I'll furrow on kind of both sides of the potatoes and push the soil up over the potatoes and the fertilizer at the same time, and then water it really well. And where you cover the potatoes up, it will produce more potatoes. So as the potato plants get bigger, you can cover the potatoes, and they'll send out more potatoes. But you gotta feed them, and they like phosphorus. So a high phosphorus with a medium nitrogen fertilizer in there will really, really help. But putting that fertilizer right in the row with the plants definitely helps. Last year my potatoes were a little smaller too because it was so hot. I'm thinking this year my potatoes look like 3 times better right now than they did all of last year. Yeah, they look so much better. So I've got my fingers crossed for a really good potato harvest this year. And the other thing with the potatoes is they don't like heavy clay soils, and so whatever you can do in the fall to loosen up the soil where you're going to plant the potatoes really, really helps. And a lot of potato farmers put straw in where they're going to plant potatoes the next year and then till that in, and it keeps the soil from clumping up, and so the soil's lighter and fluffier, and you'll get better production on your potatoes as well too. So couple little tricks. And then we had another caller.
We do, and Sue on the line here.
Right. Good morning, Sue. Welcome to the Garden Guide. We only have a minute or two, so.
Okay, thank you. I was wondering if there's anything I can do about a snake in my garden. I haven't been out there since I've seen it.
Yes.
And I'm scared to death.
I was driving up around First Dam a couple days ago, and I saw a gentleman walking along the sidewalk. There's a great trail that goes from, the Bonneville shoreline all the way down to 4th North, if you follow that. And he had a great big snake in his hand that he'd found on the trail. So there's a lot of snakes out right now, and it kind of creeped me out a little bit too. But it's okay. Some people like snakes, others do not. I totally get it both ways. I have some repellents that are very, very safe to use, Sue, that are made from natural ingredients. So it's got like clove in it, and it's got garlic, and it's got cinnamon. It's got very strong scented oils in it that the snakes don't like the taste of it. So when they smell with their tongues, and they don't like the taste of a lot of these ingredients, and they will just move somewhere else. And so you can use it as a barrier around your garden to keep them from coming in. If you need to, you can put it in the garden safely and drive them out so that they don't come back. So that would be my suggestion. Okay.
Oh, thank you.
You are so welcome. Good luck with your unwanted guest.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Have a wonderful 4th. Thanks for calling.
The snake thing's a tough one because they eat some things
oh yeah,
that you want them to
they're
eat.
quite beneficial. Yeah,
but yeah, they're a little creepy to run
They
into.
are eating voles like crazy this year, so they have a plentiful food source. But if you don't like snakes, it's hard to get out into your garden if you've got too many friends out there. So it's kind of like spiders. Spiders are beneficial. They eat a lot of other bugs, but they just kind of creep.
Not fun to run
so
into.
yeah, they're not my favorite. So happy 4th of July, everyone! Have a great time out gardening in your yard. A lot of things happening at Anderson Seed in the future, and we've got some great sales going on right now. So come see us this weekend at Anderson Seed and Garden. Have a great weekend. We'll be back next week with another edition of The Garden Guide.
News at the top and bottom of the hour. News Talk KVNU. 610 AM and 102.1 FM. Proud to be locally owned and operated by the Cache Valley